Hello and welcome to today's videos. We're going to cover LPL at Worlds and the teams that have disappointed China at this event. The reason why this was spurred on was we were talking about top esports and CFO yesterday, and considering, top esports seem to always let the LPL down. And immediately I thought to myself, how true is this? Similar to how I felt about the Korea-China rivalry this season. What does history actually say? And the history indicates that top esports are not some special team that let people down internationally. Hell, only once out of their three world appearances did they not get out of the group stage. And we see here the last team to do it was 2022. And the thought that, oh, who's going to be the team to not make it out of group stage went to KT because the last two seasons, D plus Kia were one of the teams from the LCK LPL that did not get to the quarterfinal stage in the current format. Now on here we have a list of all the teams that have not gotten out of group stage at Worlds, or well, yeah, because every LPL team has gotten out of Swiss stage and gotten to quarterfinals. And down below, cite which team you think was the biggest disappointment. Up here, I have some very basic stats. Win rate, because win rate matters when we look at a team. First, the win rate in the regular season. Total game score, not series. Because if you're winning every series 2-1, that's very different than, oh, they went undefeated but beat everybody 2-1. I don't think that wouldn't make me think, oh, when you go to an international event, like, yes, you're beating everybody, but at the same time, nothing is like resounding. After that, you have the playoff win rate, which is here, of course, but record, and then the international record, which will all be 50-50 or less in the main event because these teams didn't get out of the group stage. So in 2015, we think back, and I had somebody in my comment section cite how, well, back then, China wasn't all that much better than North America or Europe. But in 2015, EDG won MSI. So theoretically, I would like to think that China was considered a team that could win, a region that could win the main event due to the fact that they won MSI just a few months earlier. So I went out of order on accident, but we have IG and LGD, the 3 seed and the 1 seed from China that did not get out of group stage in 2015 Worlds. In the regular season, they both had the same record at 48-40 total, which is 55%. In the playoffs, it's a little different. LGD had 20 wins, 7 losses. IG had 20 wins, 14 losses. So that's a very big difference. But LGD with a 74% win rate in playoffs actually is the best win rate out of any team on this board in the playoffs when you combine spring and summer. That is more than the top esports and FPX teams that people like to cite in recent history. Now, when they got to the Worlds, both went 2-4. In 2016, IME, a 3 seed, went 21-16, only existing in summer. 13-7 in playoffs, 2-4. 2017, EDG, these good players on these rosters, especially 2017 EDG. 50-25 in the regular season. That's a 67% win rate. 59% win rate in the playoffs. Still, 33% come the international event. And ironically, none of these teams went to MSI. Just something interesting about that. All these teams that did not get out of the main event, well, I keep saying main event for fuck's sake, the group stage at Worlds, all of them did not go to MSI. 2019, RNG 2 seed, which I would think a team with the names on paper now in history, surprised that team isn't looked back on a little harsher. 46-24 in the regular season, but only 9-8 in the playoffs. Still went 3-3, 50% win rate, and did not get out of group stage. 2020, LGD would go through the play-in stage and result in an 11-6 record at the main event at Worlds in 2020. This team went through many roster changes, which plays a role in this. Their summer was much better than their spring. They went 37-41 total in games played, 10-11 in playoffs, but went on a run in summer and were able to go to Worlds. And then we get to recent history that people like to cite. FPX in 2021, they were a 2 seed. And of course, you have nameplate value is playing a role in this. But 52 and 22 in the regular season, 70% win rate. That team had the best win rate regular season wise out of anybody on this board. Playoffs, 20 and 10, 67% win rate. Second best playoff win rate. But went 2 and 4 and then lost a tiebreaker in group stage. And maybe the tiebreaker is what rubs salt in the wound for people that makes them upset with that roster and it being disappointing. But in the grand scheme of things, we've had many teams that were disappointing, including 2 1 seeds that did not get out of group stage. LNG, 4 seed in 2021, did not get out of group stage. They went 41 and 38, 16 and 14, and then 7 and 4 when we take into account their play-ins. In the group stage, they went 3 and 3 and lost a tiebreaker, however. So that is a thing. Then Top Esports in 2022. 53 and 26 had a monster summer. I'm not going to deny that their summer wasn't super strong. But the way I look at League of Legends is every 2 weeks the game changes, and at Worlds, we have to consider how the team did in spring to factor in how this rule set may affect this. Are there going to be champs that return to the meta that haven't been around for a few months? Playoffs, 15 and 8. And then 3 and 3 in group stage. And of course, the GAM bug is what people like to cite. And then we say, well, they shouldn't have been in that position, which I agree. They should not have been in that position to possibly lose based on that. They should have been better than GAM and Rogue. Ironically, DRX come out of that group and then they go win all the marbles. They win the World Championship. But playoff-wise, 58% win rate, that's not as strong as FPX. That's not as strong as EDG in 2017, IMA in 2016, or LGD in 2015. So this notion that this team was just so dominant over the entirety of the season is not true. They just came in hot. People were riding that wave, and they can't separate their emotion from what the season has been. Oftentimes, I feel like people in hindsight looking back and giving shit to these teams and players, etc., is mostly just their own embarrassment that they're embarrassed that they allowed that player to, fool them and thinking that they were going to do something different. It's craziness. It's absolute craziness. I think, there are cases to be made, yes, a Top Esports team in summer did great. But they were the 2 seed. And you look at EDG and LGD, those were 1 seeds and they didn't get out. And you can say, oh, well, back then they weren't as strong. 2015, they won MSI. China won MSI. So as far as I'm concerned, they were just as competitive. There's no excuse. There are teams that had very good runs, and then you have a team like LGD. I'm not surprised they didn't get out because the fact they're even there, they hit a patch. Game changes every 2 weeks. Come summer playoffs, they hit the patch right, and they got to Worlds. And that's kind of part of this, is how do you hit the patch? Do you hit it out of the park? Or do you hit a foul ball? Do you strike out? Some teams strike out on the patch. And that is what it is. A team will be very disappointing. You'll be like, oh, why is that team so... They struck out. They screwed up. Struck out on the patch, or the moment was too big for them, one or the other. But looking at this list here, we have several teams that have not gotten out of the group stage in LPL history. In the current format, nobody has failed to get out of group stage that is from the LPL. The last 2 years, it's been an LCK team, and both times it was D plus Kia. So the notion that Top Esports is the team that would drop out, I think, is foolhardy. I understand that Top Esports are the team that let everybody down at first stand. They definitely sucked at that tournament. But at Worlds, the team has actually went to semis once and quarters once in their 3 events, and they won that mid-season cup in 2020. So this notion that internationally Top Esports is just notorious for letting people down. Are you going to say the same thing about FPX? Well, I guess you won't because they won Worlds once. RNG won MSI a few times, but at Worlds, I mean, if there's a team that disappoints you at Worlds more than anybody in the LPL, it's got to be RNG. They've never won the event after winning all those MSIs. You know? I mean, personally, I think that that's something people need to consider. LGD, of course, has left to be desired. They're the only team, what? Yeah, LGD are the only team listed on here twice. And it's funny, we did a video. I almost could do this in reverse for North American teams getting out of group stage because it's just like, and I might do that. I don't even know. I got to figure out what I'm going to do. But the fact of the matter is, looking at this, you say to yourself, oh, wow, that's like, we got 8 teams here, 2, 4, 6, 9. 9 teams didn't get out of group stage in LPL history. There might be less than 9 teams from North America that ever got out of group stage. But yeah, I don't know. I think that it gets over the top with people. They like to just, they don't think about it. Top Esports probably finds a way. Yesterday we said, which one is it? And I said, well, Top Esports seems to be the team that probably won't get out because you look at their history, but that's wrong. Their history, they're one of a few teams, 8 teams that haven't gotten out of group stage in the LPL history. So that's it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, like it, subscribe to the channel for daily League of Legends content. Follow me on Twitter, join the Discord, become a YouTube supporter, and hope to see you again tomorrow.